"Be quiet, you're just an ATM," my mom hissed after stealing my $1,500 bonus for their vacation. "Then pay the bills alone," I snapped, cutting the power, ending the lease, and filing in small claims court. Hey everyone, before we dive into today's video, I need your support. Our channel's been losing some momentum, and hitting that subscribe button is the easiest way to help us out. It's free, takes a second, and keeps us creating great content for you. Your encouragement means everything. Let's grow this community together. Thank you, and now, let's get into the video. I landed back home the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, one hand gripping my luggage, the other balancing a box of fresh donuts, bracing for the usual chaos. My family was always loud, bickering over who brought what dish, who hadn't called in months, or who was seeing someone new. It was messy, but familiar. It had been that way every holiday since I was young. So when I stepped through the front door and heard only the faint murmur of the TV, it wasn't just quiet, it was wrong. I shouted a greeting, but no one replied. I moved past the entryway, through the kitchen where the stove was off and the counters bare. Then I spotted Grandpa alone in his armchair, his worn slippers dangling off his feet. He was glued to an old cowboy flick and didn't even look up as I set my bag down. "Where's everybody?" I asked, already pulling out my phone to check for missed texts. He stayed silent at first, then just nodded toward the dining table. I approached cautiously, a knot forming in my gut. On the table lay a crumpled note, scribbled on the back of a faded shopping list. "Used your bonus for our trip. He's your responsibility now. Happy Thanksgiving." I stood there, rereading it, my brain refusing to process. My first instinct was to chuckle, not because it was funny, but because the shock left me numb. I half expected someone to pop out yelling, "Gotcha!" But nothing. Just Grandpa's quiet voice, weary and low. "Don't fret, kiddo. I'm Jason, 33. I'm an IT consultant. People assume I just troubleshoot printers, but I mostly coach executives to reboot their systems. It pays decently, not wealthy, but enough for a safety net. For 4 years, I've been quietly covering Mom's rent, her utilities, bailing out my younger sister Kevin with her credit card debt, and footing Grandpa's medical bills. He moved in with Mom when his arthritis worsened. I never complained about helping. Grandpa practically raised me while Mom was off chasing parties or finding herself. He showed me how to knot a tie, scramble eggs without scorching them, and hear people out before speaking. I supported the family mostly for him, or so I thought. Now here he was, alone in a still house, dressed in his usual faded plaid shirt, the one he wore when he expected no visitors. I asked when they left. He just shrugged. "Tuesday, maybe. They packed in a hurry, gone by noon. Figured you'd still show, so I waited up to see you." A warmth spread in my chest, not full-on rage, but that heavy ache when betrayal sinks in before your mind catches up. I dialed Mom. Voicemail. Tried Kevin. Same. Checked our family group chat. Nothing but a photo Kevin posted 3 hours earlier. She was lounging in a beach chair, sipping a frosty mojito. Caption, "Much-needed getaway. Family first." I almost laughed again. My bonus, $1,500, had hit my account last week. I hadn't told them outright, just hinted at a Thanksgiving surprise. That cash was meant for Grandpa. Maybe to move him into a nicer care home I'd researched, one with private suites, sunny courtyards, and group activities. He deserved that, not this. That first night, I settled into the spare room, avoiding the note with Grandpa. I could tell he'd seen it. His face was steady but distant, like when he hurt, but didn't want to burden anyone. I made dinner from whatever was left. He claimed he wasn't hungry, but cleaned his plate. I helped him to bed, and he murmured, "Thanks," like always. I lingered in the hallway after, staring at the wall, grappling with how to handle it. What do you say when your own mother treats you like a cash machine instead of a son? Thursday passed. No calls, no messages, no apologies. Just more photos. Lobster dinners, massage parlors, a shaky shot of a rented kayak. Kevin posted a gushing tribute to her incredible mom. I flipped my phone over. By Friday morning, I sat across from Grandpa, my laptop glowing. The screen displayed a spreadsheet. Monthly expenses, linked accounts, automatic payments. Mom's mortgage had my name on it. Kevin's car loan was partly mine. Our phone plan covered 3 lines. Only one was mine. It had snowballed over time. One favor here, another there. Just for now, until we're back on our feet. Grandpa sipped his coffee, saying little. Finally, he muttered, "About time you noticed." That afternoon, I started making calls. First the phone company, then the bank, then the property manager. I wasn't loud or angry, just matter of fact. I explained I was reviewing my finances, streamlining things, the kind of excuse people nod along to when you sound calm. By Saturday, the group chat exploded. Kevin texted first, "Yo, my phone's dead. Can you fix it?" Then Mom, "Jason, the electricity's off. I thought you handled that." A missed call, then 6 more. I didn't answer. An email arrived, subject, "URGENT. Jason, what's going on? We're overseas and our cards aren't working. Did you cancel something? Call me now. I ignored it, glancing at Grandpa, who was watching a game with a faint smirk. Think they get it yet? He asked. I gave a half smile. Sunday brought over 40 missed calls. Voicemails grew sharper, more accusatory. Mom, I don't know what your problem is. You've stranded us. Kevin, you're ruining everything. Then, we've got Grandpa, don't forget. But they didn't, not anymore. Something shifted in me. Not just anger or pain, but a quiet clarity. I looked at Grandpa, humming to a commercial, tapping his cane lightly. I realized I didn't have to be the villain in their narrative. I wasn't a wallet, a problem solver, or their pawn. I was their son, Kevin's brother, but not their servant. I grabbed my phone, nearly sending a final text. Then tires squealed outside. I froze, phone in hand. Grandpa kept humming, but the noise stopped everything. Someone pounded the front door hard. I rose slowly, my body lagging behind my mind. Grandpa's hands tightened on his chair, though he didn't look away from the TV. I peeked through the curtain. There they were, Mom, hair tangled, face streaked with mascara. Kevin stood behind, arms folded, scowling. They didn't look like they'd just had a blast on vacation. They looked desperate. Mom banged again, shrieking, "Jason, open this door!" I didn't budge. They'd probably rushed back early, maybe in business class, assuming I'd cave. They likely planned to waltz in, shed a few tears, guilt me, and sort things out just enough to restore the power and cards. I could see it. Mom's clingy hug, cooing, "We're family." Kevin rolling her eyes, calling me over the top, maybe dragging Grandpa into their sob story. Not this time. I wasn't letting them call the shots. I turned to Grandpa. "Want to take a stroll?" He looked up, startled, and nodded. "All right." I helped him up, grabbed our coats, and guided him to the back door, which led to the yard and looped to the street. My car was parked a block away. They hadn't noticed it. A small wind. The cold air stung my face as we stepped out, grounding me. The doorbell rang again, followed by another thud. Grandpa chuckled softly. Bet they're not used to being ignored. We didn't speak as we reached the car. I helped him settle in and took a detour around the block, steering clear of the house. A few streets away, I parked near a quiet park with a bench and killed the engine. "Let's get some fresh air," I said. Grandpa nodded. "You're holding up better than I would have." That caught me off guard. I glanced at him. "Really?" He exhaled like unburdening decades. "Your mom's always had a knack for making folks feel indebted. Kevin picked that up. Me? I stayed silent too long, thinking I was protecting you by letting her run the show." He stared ahead, eyes glistening. "But this, dumping me like I'm trash, that's a new low." His words lingered. I didn't brush it off. He didn't need platitudes. He needed to be heard, and I understood. Fully. I spoke up. "They don't know about the new place?" He turned to me. "Signed the lease last month. 2-bedroom condo, elevator access, bright, peaceful area. Was gonna tell you over dinner Thursday, maybe show you Friday. But then..." I trailed off. He patted my shoulder gently. "Let's head home, kid." An hour later, we returned. The driveway was empty. They'd gone. No note this time. Just silence. I left Grandpa in the car and checked the house. Nothing was touched except the front door, left ajar. I shut it and gathered Grandpa's few belongings. Some photos, old shirts, a community award plaque, all they'd left behind. I packed them neatly, each item pulling me further from the role I'd played here. The enabler, the one who smoothed things over, the peacemaker. By dusk, Grandpa was settled in the new condo. It wasn't lavish, but it was ours. His favorite chair sat in the living room. The fridge was stocked, his meds organized. I even set a small plant by the window, one I'd kept alive, picturing him reading beside it. That night, we ate takeout on the sofa. The TV hummed in the background. He didn't talk much, just kept scanning the room like he feared it might vanish. But it wouldn't. Not now. My phone pinged. A text from Mom. "You're being immature. Grandpa's our responsibility. You can't just take him and vanish. Call me." Then Kevin. "What did you do?" "The landlord says we're behind 2 months. I thought you paid that. This isn't funny." I set the phone down. Grandpa glanced over. "Trouble?" he asked. "Something like that," I replied. He grinned, slow and genuine. "Guess they're starting to see what they lost." I leaned back, exhaled, and let the silence settle. It felt calm, for the first time in ages. But I knew it wasn't over. They hadn't found the envelope I'd left beside their note. Sunday night, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered, expecting Mom's voice. Instead, it was Mr. Carter, the property manager. Polite, careful, always professional. He knew me as the one who responded to his emails about late rent or leaky sinks. He knew who really paid, no matter whose name was on the lease. "Mr. Mitchell," he said cautiously, "just reaching out. Your mother and sister stopped by today. They thought they still had access to the unit." I pinched my brow. "Did they make a scene?" "A bit," he said, sounding unfazed. "They said you were mistaken, that cutting them off was an error. I clarified the lease was terminated, locks changed, and their key deactivated last week." I thanked him and hung up. They were spiraling. Reality had slammed into them. No home, no utilities, no funds, and now no leverage. I knew their game. They weren't just upset. They were humiliated. In our family, looking weak was worse than being wrong. Mom had spent years crafting this image of the strong, nurturing matriarch. Kevin couldn't go a day without flaunting her blessed life online while secretly siphoning my money. They were so accustomed to me cleaning up their messes that they couldn't fathom life without me. But I could. It was eviction notices, canceled subscriptions, a phone that cuts off mid-scroll, and soon, court documents. That envelope wasn't just for show. It held legal weight. Inside were records of every payment I'd made for them. Rent, groceries, medical costs, car payments, apps, all of it. 4 years of proof, with receipts, bank statements, notarized. I hadn't compiled it for vengeance. I'd done it because deep down I knew this moment was coming. Taped to the packet was my final note in my handwriting: "He was never your burden. You were mine. This is the last cent. Good luck." They hadn't mentioned it yet, not in texts, not in voicemails, which meant one thing: they hadn't read it. But they would, because Monday morning, the rest would hit. That morning, I'd filed a small claims case. Not for spite, not just for the money, though. I had a shot at it. But to prove a point. The evidence was airtight. Even if I didn't recover every dollar, just filing would rattle them. I wasn't out to ruin them. I just needed them to stop pretending it never happened. That night, Grandpa and I sat on the balcony, the sky turning deep amber. My phone buzzed. A voicemail from Kevin. Her voice was strained, trembling. "You're being cruel. Mom's a wreck. We're not perfect, fine, but you can't abandon family. You don't get to rewrite history just because you're doing well now. We're still blood. Doesn't that count?" I stared at the screen. They always pulled the family card when all else failed, as if being related erased their actions, as if ditching Grandpa like old luggage hadn't shattered something in me. I hadn't fully processed it yet. I didn't respond. I glanced at Grandpa, dozing with a book on his chest, its pages fluttering in the breeze. He looked peaceful, more at ease than I'd seen in years, like he wasn't bracing for the next jab or manipulation. It hit me. They always thought I'd stay silent out of embarrassment. But now, I had nothing left for them to weaponize. That's when I made the final decision I'd been mulling for weeks. I opened my banking app and stopped the automatic deposits to Kevin's kids' college fund. Not to hurt the child, but because no one in that house would teach him the difference between real love and emotional extortion. Then I sent one last message to Mom and Kevin. "You didn't just lose my cash, you lost your role in my life, and that'll sting far longer." The message showed delivered, then read. No reply. I didn't expect one. Tomorrow they'd face someone with tough questions about their taxes. I barely slept that night. Even with everything wrapped up, house cleared, payments stopped, Grandpa safe, my mind raced. How long had they planned this? Was it impulsive, or did they always assume I'd swallow it? And the toughest question? Why did I let it drag on? I sat at the condo's small kitchen table, overlooking the courtyard garden, sipping cold tea as stars faded and dawn's pale blue crept in. Grandpa stirred in his room. He always rose early, claiming late sleepers never knew struggle. When he shuffled into the kitchen, he said little, just nodded, pulled up a chair and sat like it was any other day. After a few sips of coffee, he asked, "You all right, kid?" I nodded. "Yeah." He raised an eyebrow. "Sure?" I hesitated. "I will be." That satisfied him. He leaned back, the chair groaning, and gave me a knowing look, like he saw everything I hadn't voiced. Then he chuckled. "Well, better now than never." We both laughed, just a little. For the first time in forever, it felt light. Later that morning, as Grandpa watched an old quiz show, my phone rang. Private number. I let it go. It rang again. This time it left a voicemail. I played it, mostly out of curiosity. It was Mom. "Jason, I don't get what you're after. We're not monsters. We were giving you space. Maybe we messed up, but we're still your kin. You can't toss us aside like we're nothing. One day, when we're gone, and all you've got is cash and ego, you'll regret this." I listened to the end, then deleted it. I didn't need to keep it. I knew she'd seen the envelope. Because by Tuesday, the emails started, first from her. "Please drop the lawsuit. It's unfair. We're not crooks." Then Kevin. "Grandpa always said to stick together. Guess you forgot." then a joint one, laced with big words they probably Googled. This is a misunderstanding. Legal action is extreme and unneeded. Let's resolve this maturely. Drop the case so we can mend things. That last one made me scoff. Now they wanted to play adults? After 4 years of treating me like a bank? After leaving their own father alone on a holiday while they sipped cocktails I funded? Healing doesn't come from lies, and it sure doesn't start by acting like abandoning a frail old man was a minor slip. So I replied, healing begins with honesty. You abandoned him. You exploited me. Now you're just mad I won't let you do it again. They never wrote back. 2 months later, the court case didn't even happen. My attorney sent them the documents. The threat of public exposure was enough to make them settle. Not out of remorse, but because they couldn't stand their friends, colleagues, or neighbors knowing the truth. They paid back a fraction of what they owed. I didn't care. It was never about the dollars. It was about setting boundaries. They signed the agreement. After that, it was done. I had it signed, scanned, and filed. Then I erased their numbers. Permanently, not out of anger, because it was necessary. When people reveal their true selves, you don't rewrite the picture. You accept it. Life with Grandpa became calm, stable, and authentic. Mornings were quiet, coffee on the balcony, newspapers stacked nearby. Afternoons, Grandpa tackled crosswords or rewatched classic shows while I worked remotely. Evenings, we cooked together. He had this odd habit of slathering mustard on nearly everything. I stopped questioning it. Sometimes, as the sun set, he'd share new stories about his youth, Grandma, how Mom used to sneak out to meet some guy with a rusty pickup and a bad guitar. One night, mid-dishwashing, he glanced over. Always thought I'd end up in some nursing home forgotten. Never imagined a place like this. And I sure didn't expect you to be the one to make it happen. I smiled. Didn't plan on it? I said. He laughed. That's family, right? Then he got quiet. Serious. You did right, Jason. You gave more than anyone should have asked, and you stopped when it started breaking you. That's not weak. That's strength. I didn't reply right away, just kept drying plates. But something inside me settled. The silence around me stopped feeling like a penalty and started feeling like peace. By spring, we were thriving. Grandpa had a routine, seeing a doctor he actually trusted, joining a local senior center for card games twice a week. Sometimes I'd catch him smiling when he thought I wasn't watching. A real smile, born of ease, not pretense. I started therapy, learning to say no without shame. I stopped living like my time and energy were rewards for whoever guilted me hardest. I eventually stopped checking the old email tied to the family chat. If they truly wanted contact, they knew how. They didn't. And I was fine with that, because healing isn't always about reconciliation. Sometimes it's about boundaries. Sometimes it's choosing yourself. And sometimes it looks like this, sitting on a balcony beside the only family member who never demanded you prove your love. Watching the sun dip over a tranquil courtyard, realizing you owe no one anything but the peace you fought for. One evening, Grandpa nudged me, raising his glass of root beer. To cutting ties, he said, grinning. I raised mine. To keeping them cut, we clinked glasses. So what are your thoughts on this story? Do you agree with what happened or do you see it differently? Let us know your opinion in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming stories. See you in the next one.